Good morning. Welcome to our fireside chat. I'm Emily Cook, and today we have a very special guest, Morgan Schultz, who's been instrumental in integrating technology in education at Hannibal School District. Morgan started at Hannibal in 2021 as an assistant analyst and quickly took on the role of a tech specialist. She works closely with teachers on how to use technology effectively. So, Morgan, will you start by sharing a little bit of background about Hannibal School District, where you're located, and tell us about the students that you serve?
Yeah, so we are located roughly 2 hours north of St. Louis, kind of in northeast Missouri. We have roughly 3,400 students, and our technology is one-to-one. So each of our students in grades K through 12 have their own device assigned to them. Our population-wise, we are rather rural, and so we have a lot of kids kind of coming from smaller communities to our district, and our free and reduced lunch is about 50% to kind of give you an idea of like our economics.
And then can you share a little bit about your role at Hannibal and how the device program fits into your responsibilities?
Yeah, so I oversee the integration of technology in our classrooms, making sure that both students and teachers know how to use the tools and use them effectively. That includes anything from initial device setup to ongoing support and repairs, anything kind of like that. One of our biggest challenges that we've had in the last year is budgeting. It left us running on 10 to 15-year-old computers, but thanks to Bluum, we've got 400 recertified devices, which we actually got knocked out and deployed within 2 months. Thanks to your guys's white glove service. I almost called it white cloud, your white glove service. And it's been crucial in keeping us up and running.
Awesome. So whenever I hear about recertified devices, I'm curious, what has the feedback from teachers been like around using recertified devices? And maybe we just share in your own words, what does it mean to be a recertified device? What are we talking about?
So recertified, at least from my experience, is that devices that you guys have bought from other districts before have taken them back, made sure they're fully functional, repaired anything that needed to be repaired, restored them to factory settings, basically. And so that has kind of knocked down our costs because it's not a brand new device, but it's still a device that has lots of life left to it.
And so what has the teacher feedback been from deploying those devices?
Well, initially they were kind of skeptic of it. You know, they heard recertified and they think of like when you buy something recertified from Amazon and you know it's not going to be brand new. But if we wouldn't have told them that these were recertified, we've had a lot of them say that they would have thought that they were brand new devices. So with them being some of the smaller units too, they thought, oh, this isn't going to be as fast as my old big computer. But then once they got on them, they realized, holy cow, we've been using technology that's how old, and it's changed their teaching.
Love that. So will you share with us a little bit more about that kind of teaching change? Like what has the adoption been like for the one-to-one program and maybe, what are some of the wins and what are some of the current challenges?
So they've really appreciated having the same operating system as students. Not only are our students one-to-one, each of our teachers also have a Chrome OS device as well. It makes it easier for them to use things like Google Classroom, Google Sheets, Google Docs, things like that in their teaching. Looking ahead, one of our biggest challenges is that many of our student Chromebooks, they're getting near the end of the life. So we're still running on a version that actually was supposed to go out of date this year. Google pushed that back a couple of years, but it's still, those devices they've been through war and they are getting to the end of the life. So that's kind of our biggest right now. We used to have a 10% buffer. So we'd have 10% more Chromebooks than we did students. But right now we're lucky if we have 1%. Some of them we're getting down to we have one spare Chromebook for 1,000 kids. So in 2 years, almost 95% of our Chromebooks are going to be gone for.
You mentioned earlier on about budget being a challenge. So what are some of the creative ways that you are looking at trying to address this refresh?
We are currently exploring leasing options to try and manage this transition effectively. We're also open to using recertified devices for students like we did for teachers to kind of help cut out on costs. Device damage is also one of our biggest issues. And so we're assessing the costs and benefits of different support models, including device as a service and self-maintainer warranties.
Yeah, I am hearing quite a bit about kind of that interest in leasing and device as a service because, as you know, you're not alone. There are a lot of people who are facing the same budget crunch that you are. So I would just love to hear from your perspective, kind of what are those pros and cons for, let's say, a lease or a device as a service model?
One of the pros from, at least from my perspective, is that I would think it'd be easier to budget for a lease instead of a large upfront cost. Having the same amount on a budget each year set aside to cover those costs instead of getting to the end of life and, having hundreds of thousands of dollars to replace equipment would definitely make it easier for budgeting. The device as a service would greatly reduce our workload as techs, seeing as we're repairing anywhere from 50 to 70 Chromebooks a week for damage. I mean, it's taking up the time of almost two techs constantly to repair these. So one of the cons I could see as device as a service would be the turnaround time of getting the devices back. Like I said, since we've only got about a 10% threshold. But just depending on the turnaround time and the cost, we would consider upping that to 20% as a backup, just to kind of offset that, just to make sure our students always have their own device.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think it would be helpful to maybe hear a little bit more about your tech team and the makeup of, you talked about kind of two people being dedicated to the tech repair. So maybe will you just share with us a little bit about who makes up your tech team, and how you're sharing that workload among.
Our tech team, we've got 6 members. We have our director, John, and then we have our inventory specialist, Tammy. She's going to be retiring actually at the end of the month. So soon we're going to be down to 5 of us. We do have the 2 primary techs, Steve and Mary. They take care of anything from repairing Chromebooks, repairing computers, anything that's broken, they can fix it with duct tape and a zip tie, I'm sure. And then we have Jesse, who is our security guy. So despite our budget constraints, we've managed to kind of absorb some of those job positions that we're losing to still maintain a high level of support.
Amazing. And one of the things you mentioned that's part of kind of your role is helping on the teaching and learning and the integration of technology within the district. So I'm sure that is a heavy load and super important, especially as you take on even more responsibility. So I would love to just turn our conversation a little bit to talking about that teaching and learning piece and get your feedback from, what are some of the common challenges that teachers face with technology and what do you do to address those challenges?
Teachers often face challenges like technical malfunctions, not enough training, or sometimes just figuring out how to use technology in their curriculum. To address these, we usually do professional development during the summer and at least once every quarter, and it's to kind of help enhance the teacher's tech skills. We also try to establish a reliable tech support quickly to resolve their issues. We don't want them out there waiting weeks and weeks to get a tech issue finished. We usually try to have at least a 24-hour turnaround time. We've also tried to integrate technology gradually and also align it with the educational goals so that teachers can feel more comfortable and effective in using digital tools in their classrooms.
Oh my gosh, I love that. You're speaking my language. It's just so critical that we don't just, plop at technology in the hands of educators and hope that it improves learning. It's like that really thoughtful, strategic approach. I think is so important. So you talked a little bit about kind of that ongoing support. I would love to just dig in and understand a little bit more about what does that continuous ongoing training look like? How do we help keep teachers up to date with practically? What are those sessions look like and how are you using that?
So we offer professional development several times throughout the school year. It's for both teachers and staff. Usually we try and offer different training courses on the different technologies that we offer. So we use things such as Canva, GoGuardian, Cami, Promethean TVs, Google Classrooms, things like that. We try to get them more of a hands-on and they can see how other teachers are using it to see how they can incorporate it within their classroom.
Yeah, I just love that focus on ongoing support. That it's not once they know how to use Google, then we're done training on Google. It's like, look, what are the best practices? What can this actually look like? And so I just love that approach that you all are taking, and I'm sure that you've seen some really exciting outcomes as a result of that. So would you mind sharing maybe a success story or kind of an example that comes to mind when it comes to how technology can significantly improve teaching and learning outcomes?
Actually, one of my favorite stories to tell, we had a math teacher. He was having a hard time getting kids to understand isometric drawings just by looking at the 2D drawing on his board or out of a textbook. Around that time, we had just purchased licenses for Minecraft for education. And having kids himself, he knew how infatuated these kids were with Minecraft. So he created a world with different isometric drawings, and the kids could walk around, fly around all sides to get the full 3D picture of them. From there, he had the kids recreate what each side looks like in a 2D format. He went from having a class of 25 kids where maybe 2 to 3 were getting the idea of isometric drawings. By the end of the day, everyone had an A on that assignment by the time that class period was over. And that to me is just powerful and showing how you can take something kids are already familiar with and love, like Minecraft, into something learning that they were not understanding from the get-go.
Oh gosh, I love that. I mean, yeah, I just love it. As a mom of kids who are pretty obsessed with Minecraft, I can see, when our students feel like what they're learning is relevant to them, all of a sudden their capacity to learn. You are clearly full of so many great ideas, from budgeting and technical support to the ongoing PD. I am curious, where do you get your inspiration? How do you stay informed about new tech developments and trends? Where are you getting inspiration?
We attend a yearly conference called Midwest Tech Talk at Lake of the Ozarks. All of our department actually gets to get together with other tech departments across the US. We get to see what each school is doing for their problems. See, we're having the issue. What are you guys having? But we also get to meet with vendors like Bluum to see what new technology is out there and what you guys have for us.
I think I have a very cute picture from one of those that we'll have to share. Thank you so much, Morgan, for sharing your insights, sharing your experiences. Before we wrap up, what are you hoping? Hopefully, we have given some new thoughts to those who are listening. So, what are you hoping that people get from the conversation, and what's some key takeaways?
The key takeaways are the importance of adaptability and technology integration, the value of partnerships and overcoming budget constraints, and the need for creative solutions to manage tech support and device cycle effectively. Our partnership with Bluum has been phenomenal. Alex, in particular, he's been incredibly responsive. He's like an extension of our team. We just absolutely love him. It's nice knowing that I can send him an email with what I need. I know he's going to go out there and find the best product out there for me that meets my budget, get me the best price possible.
Oh, I love wrapping up with a little kudos for Alex. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Morgan, for this great informational session. I hope for those of you that are listening that you found this discussion to be valuable and you can, really apply these insights to your own work. So thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.